You know, how about instead of just sitting here and waiting, I'm just gonna go ahead and start drawing. Take the chance, take the opportunity. Just start. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Let me just get to the scary infinite void for a hot second, and oh, okay, leave. What the heck? There we go. There we go. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna continue drawing her. That's for you. Go. Just gonna continue with her. Let me see. Kogu Otani says, nice, finally caught a stream. It's late in East Africa, but happy to be here. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Yeah, we're just chilling. We're just doodling, as, I've been doing for the past couple of streams. But that is so cool. It's always so cool seeing people from, like, all over the world, like, suddenly appearing, and it's like, oh, whoa, that's incredible. Cyberlord says, just woke up, hi, hey. Cora says, hey there, Pep. Oh, wow, people are coming, whoa. Yeah, don't really have much to say, drawn. I don't know if I want to, like, specifically lock in today, or, I don't know. I always struggle with whether or not I want to, like, because I feel like I did quite a bit of rambling, last stream, which was pretty fun, but at the same time, I was also like, I feel like I should have gotten the line art done, you know? Koku says, what you drawing? So this is, here. So, this is some, like, Genshin fan art, or, like, Genshin Impact fan art, with my own design. This is, like, a design I created, sort of, kind of, based off the murals of Xbalanque, which is the very first Pyro Archon in, like, Natlan history, Natlan being one of the regions. And this is Renova, who, this is her, like, actual official design. She is the god of death. And I'm just drawing these two because the two of them are said to. The two of them, like, knew each other pretty well, according to the lore, and I thought it'd be really, really fun and cute if I did something, I don't know, something with the two of them.
You know how we all have that one friend we go to?
Why is there ads?
Questions? Well, meet Experian, your BFF, as in big.
Why are you here?
Friend.
Leave.
Experian is going to be your go-to app when it comes to taking control of your finances. Just download the Experian.
Oh my gosh, hurry up.
For free.
I'll be trapped in ad hell. Whoop, what the? Oh. So, yeah, right now I'm doing the line art. Just erase this part here. Cora says, the background music betrays you yet again. Yeah, unfortunately. Like, I just want some cute, like, non-copyrighted music in the background. Please, why is that so hard? Or does that even matter? I don't know. Kogo asks, what program do you use? So for this specifically, I'm actually using Procreate. Yes, the app that everybody uses on their iPad. However, when I draw on my computer, most of the time, I use Clip Studio Paint. If you want a decent alternative, Metabang Paint Bro. I used Metabang for years, for so long. I used Metabang, and I loved it. I adored it. And then I touched Clip Studio Paint, and then I never looked back. And I'm still not looking back with Clip Studio Paint. It is still, like, my favorite program that I've ever used. But unfortunately, Procreate is very convenient. It is so convenient because it's on an iPad. I don't want the fabric to be touching her legs too much. Cyberlord says, if there's one setting I hate the most with ads on YouTube is when it happens on live online masses. Cora says, Autodesk Sketchbook is also a pretty good drawing app. Never used it. Yeah, I think my very first drawing program that I've ever used that wasn't Microsoft Paint, because if we're getting into the technicals, that was Microsoft Paint. But I'm pretty sure that was the case for most of us. The first, like, real program I ever used, Paint Tool Sai. Paint Tool Sai is a classic. It is such a classic. Like, everybody who, like, watched speed paints in, like, the 2010s remembers Paint Tool Sai, and I betcha that most of y'all thought that Paint Tool Sai was free. It's okay. I thought that too. I thought that too, and it turned out that literally everybody on Earth was pirating it. But it actually wasn't free. It's pretty funny. But after that, I think there was one time that, like, I ended up getting, like, a virus on, like, an old computer when I downloaded Paint Tool Sai, like, one of the many times I downloaded it, and it kind of hit me like, oh, okay, I don't really want to spend money on this, though. Kogu says Paint Tool Sai isn't free? No, it's not, actually, which I know is crazy, because, like, it is so stupidly easy to get, or at least at the time. At the time, it was so easy to pirate that, like, a lot of people, including myself, genuinely thought it was just a free program. But no, it's not. Cora says, Paint Tool Sai. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Yeah. It's a classic. But then after a while, like, I got Paint Tool Sai legally and then realized that it was paid, so I stopped using it. And then my next program, because I wanted a free one, my next program was Fire Alpaca. That was my very next program. And the reason I stopped using Fire Alpaca was because it wouldn't like function, I guess, with my Wacom tablet that I used at the time. It just wouldn't connect very well. I have no idea why. It just didn't. And so I then moved to Metabang Paint Pro, which I'm pretty sure either uses the same functions as Fire Alpaca or is straight up like another Fire Alpaca, like it's made by the same company. I don't know. I know that they're very similar. And I mean, I already mentioned it to you guys. Like, I used not Fire Alpaca. I used Metabang for forever. I used it for so long. Like, even when I started college, I still used Metabang Paint Pro. And it wasn't until like 2-ish years ago. Yeah, it wasn't until like 2-ish years ago where I was like, okay, I'll spend the money. I will buy Clip Studio Paint. And the reason I chose Clip Studio Paint specifically is because everyone was like, because it's not a subscription-based model. It's not like Photoshop, for example. Which, first of all, Photoshop ain't even that good for drawing. Photoshop, for example, is a subscription-based type thing, but with Clip Studio Paint, it's just one purchase of $40, and eventually I was like, okay, fine, I'll pay for it, and then I shill out my $40, I download it, and I never looked back, baby. I never did. Like, Clip Studio Paint is such a good like, you can tell it was made specifically for artists and illustrators and even animators. Like, I know some professional animators now even use Clip Studio Paint. It's crazy. And then they recently introduced, like, a new subscription-based program. A lot of people got, like, really mad at the company for that. I don't really care all that much because it is a choice. Like, I still have Clip Studio Paint with that one-time purchase, so, you know. Cyberlord says, I've been using Autodesk Sketchbook since this month. Before that, it was Tayasui sketches, which I used for years until now, and almost all tools I normally use require expensive payment. I'm only sticking to a free drawing app until I can get a good job, perhaps. Chorus says, paywalls, oof. Kogu says, I used Krita because of animation. I'm conflicted with that application. I used Krita mostly because I heard it was similar to Photoshop. This was still back when I thought Photoshop was a good art program. And I heard it was free, so I was like, oh, let me try it. And personally, for me, I guess it's because, like, my art specifically doesn't really call for any complexities. My art is more on the simpler side. Like, Krita was just too much for me. It was too many, like, it was a bit clunky, and like too much texture, I guess, which I know some artists really love putting texture in their work, but again, I'm more of a like, I don't know, reel it back a bit type of artist. So I never really clicked with Krita, and its animation feature, I tried it once a million years ago. Maybe I should try it again now, but at the time I wasn't really super into it. I don't know. That's just from what I remember. Cora says, I used to use a site called Klecky back in middle school. It kept reloading midway through a drawing. Such agony. That sounds terrible. But yeah, no, like, call me a Clip Studio Paint shill because I am, but I definitely recommend for a good drawing program, there's a reason why all of the artists use it. Unfortunately, the larger industry, however, the like larger professional industry still uses Photoshop, which is the reason why me as a baby artist thought, oh, Photoshop is such an it's like the industry standard. It's gonna be this like amazing drawing program, and then I actually used it in college, and I'm like, this was not made for drawing, was it? It is not. It's literally in the title. Photoshop. It is a photo editing program. It can do that very well. I mean, Photoshop artists who actually edit photos is like, they're incredible. Like, the program was very clearly made for photos specifically. It was very clearly not made to be an art program, as opposed to Clip Studio Paint, which you can just tell that was made to draw with, like, from its inception, from the second it was created. It's like, this is a art program. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say, is well, I mean, obviously, like, try out the trials for Clip Studio, because just because I like the program obviously doesn't mean that it like works for everybody. I just personally really like it. But if you do end up liking the program and you are interested in it, I say literally $40 in the grand scheme of things, one-time purchase for $40, I say it's worth it. I think it's 100% worth it. The new subscription thing that they added, though, that I don't know. I am not interested in it, nor do I want a subscription for it. Again, especially since my art style leans more on the simpler side. I don't think I need any more bells and whistles that they can offer me, you know? But, yeah. Kogu says, there's beauty and simple art. There's beauty and simple art. I like your art style. But yeah, Krita is mega overwhelming, and the animation feature has funky mechanics when you come from Flip-A-Clip. I have never used Flip-A-Clip in my life. See, I'm a bit of like the from an older time of YouTube animations. I was before, I was around when people were still using Fire Alpaca to make animations, and actually nothing. Do people still use Fire Alpaca to make animations? I have no idea. I only see Flip-A-Clip these days. I only see that now. No. For the longest time ever, I used Flash. And you can be like, Pep, but isn't Flash paid for? I pirated it. Am I exposing myself right now? Yeah. I sailed the 7 seas and managed to snatch a version of Flash, this very old version of Flash, this ancient version of Flash. And that's what I used to make my animations until I went to college and started using the hold up.
Mazda has more 2025 IIHS.
Yeah, it wasn't until like I went to college and actually started using Toon Boom Harmony, which is the industry standard for animation, at least in the US. And unlike Photoshop, it actually felt like it was made what it was supposed to be for. For me personally, I never went back. Like, I'm not like Flash. I still have it, by the way. I still have it, but I more so have it out of nostalgia reasons. Nah, dude, when I touched Toon Boom Harmony, I never looked back. Chorus says flash animations. Those were the times, yeah. With the wonky brush as well. With the brush that, like, looked a little more like, I don't know, like, it kept fluctuating between sizes with every, like, stroke you made. Classic. An actual classic. Okay. I'll just do her hair now. Just trying to get a good sense of, like, trying to get like a good sense of the curve of this. I don't know. Okay. Okay, that's not bad. Kogu asks, does my Sona have cat ears? No. My little avatar is using a headband. It's a headband with cat ears. Yeah, the story of that, because I think my avatar has always had cat ears. Yeah, I think my avatar has always had cat ears. Let me tell you the little baby story as to why. Okay, so, around the time I started YouTube, either during it or their beginning, I don't know, it was around that time. Around the time I, started, like, doing YouTube, one of my friends, had a headband with cat ears, and it pretty much looks exactly like how I draw it. It's very simple. It isn't like those like super fluffy ones with like the hair inside of the ears. It was literally just simple felt. That was it. It was just simple fabric, wire, just simple little cat ears. But I thought they were super cute. I thought they were so cute, and so I asked my friend to wear them. And I wore it for like the whole day. And then my friend told me, you know, honestly, you can just have them until the end of the year. At the end of the year, you give them back to me. And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. And then I did. And I wore those cat ears every single day for the rest of that year. And then of course I gave them back. Like, this is not a dramatic story. I gave back the headband. I don't have it anymore. I don't even know if she has it anymore. And but it was around that time that I was like wearing these cat ears like every single day that I started to do YouTube, and I wanted to like depict myself. And because I wore the cat ears every day, I thought it would be really funny and really cute if I would also draw myself with the little cat ears. And it also is just like a quick way, I guess, to tell the audience of like, well, I mean, at the time, it's like, hey guys, I'm a little bit of an anime nerd. Especially like at the time, since at the time my content was very like anime based. I also thought like, oh, like, well, people will see it and instantly be like, oh, look, it's like a anime type thing. And it stuck. I think it's cute. So I still think it's cute. So I still have it. Oh, come on. Ooh, actually, how about if it goes, like, over? Would that look good? Or would that look weird? Let me try it out. How does that look? Actually, no, I'm not really a big fan of that. Okay. I think I'm done with her main thing. Okay, I'm just gonna do the little eye detail things on her head. Coco says it fits seamlessly with the Sona. What inspired your channel name? Now see, that one's a really funny one. Because sometimes I feel like the peppermintness doesn't really fit too much with my content. But other times I feel like I'm like, no, actually, I love the contrast. No, actually, I think the contrast is really funny. It's also one of those, like, came up with it a million years ago, and then it just kind of stuck. So, really long time ago, I had another channel way back. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I had another channel way back. And, yeah. And it went by, like, a completely different name. It did not have, like, the peppermint handle at all. And then after some time, I was like, nah, I kind of want to change the name of the channel because, I don't know, everybody else uses, like, more sillier, goofier names. I want something similar. And I asked a friend, like, for help, for suggestions. Like, I need to come up with a name I need to come up with a new name for this channel. I need something. And my friend is like, okay, what do you like? Like, what is something that you like? And I like peppermint, like the candy. Because sometimes I get people, like, I had people on chat who were like, does Peppermint Life actually like peppermints? Yes, I do. And so I was like, I like peppermints. And my friend was like, okay, that's something. You can put peppermint in your name. And at the time, I don't remember why. No, yeah, okay, a little bit. I was really into this book series called Baby Mouse. Or it was like a comic series called Baby Mouse. And Baby Mouse, the main character was named Baby Mouse, and she had, like, this catchphrase that she would use anytime she was, like, slightly inconvenienced, and it was typical. And and younger me was like, oh, that's really fun. I need like a catchphrase word as well, because I don't know, I thought it was silly. And my little word that I would use anytime I would be inconvenienced was life, or more like that's life, or this is my life, I hate my life, just life. I don't know. I don't know, that's kind of how it started. And so that's when my friend and I were like, okay, let's mash the thing that you like, which is peppermint, and, like, my at the time catchphrase, basically, which was life. Smash that together, that made Peppermint Life. And this was back with, like, the old channel, long time ago. And then a little later, when I actually made this one, when I made this channel, that was more, like, art animation based. I'm really bad with names. Y'all need to know this. I'm really, really bad with names. I just decided to, like, take the exact, just, like, rip it off. I just decided to rip it off because I am really bad with names, and I'm like, well, my old channel was called Peppermint Life. Might as well just call the new one that as well. And here I am. I still like peppermint. Life is not a catchphrase anymore. I don't even know what was up with that. But it stuck. And, you know, because the name is Peppermint Life, I'm like, you know, might as well, like, embrace it to be part of, like, my branding, which is why my little avatar has, like, the red and black, why I use, like, peppermints now for, like, my channel aesthetic. Even though nowadays I think it's a bit of a funny juxtaposition because, I think it's a little funny now because I think to like the stuff I want to make, the like serious stuff I want to make, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that fits the peppermint vibe, but but on the other hand, I also find the contrast really funny. It's like, oh, Peppermint Life, what a really cute name for what a really adorable handle. Let's see some of this person's work. Oh, like, oh, well, now I'm sad. Well, it's like a balance. It's a balance. I like cute stuff and sad stuff. It's a balance. Those are the two modes that I'm in. Wait, what am I doing? I can just copy paste. What the heck? What am I doing? I can just do that. Work smarter, not harder, kids. That's what I always say. Zevon says, "Hey Pepper, what's up?" Pretty good, pretty good. We're chilling, we're doodling. Cora says, "Cute plus sad." Yes. Kogo says, I meant to, yeah, I meant to be fair. Oh my god, another ad.
Assigned seating! Now we can choose our seats before we get on the plane. I had a dream about this!
Can you finish, please?
They do now.
Okay. Duh. Kogu says, I mean, to be fair, having a cute name and having sad stuff is peak fiction. It is. Okay. I think I'm done with Renova's, line art. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I'm done with your blanks. Yay! Okay. Now we can get on to... Oh, wait. Something's up with the hair. Something's up with the hair. I was gonna say, yay, we can get to the coloring, but hold on a second. Okay. There we go. That should be fine. Kogo says, sorry, my English fails me. It's my third language, so ignore the misspellings. It's alright. It's cool. I have immigrant parents, so I totally get it. 100%. Okay. Gonna go ahead and get to the coloring. I think I'm gonna draw... Yeah, I'm gonna color Jibelonke first, because he's just gonna be easier. Why does this have sound? Oh. Okay. And I do have my little reference sheet. I do have my little reference sheet of this guy and how he looks. So, let me just get the brush I use for coloring. Let me just look at this again. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing like all of the Xbalanque stuff first, simply because he's just simpler, because this may be my interpretation of a Genshin character's design, but that does not mean that I will be drawing them like a Genshin character. What I mean by that is that I'm not gonna give them like a stupid amount of detail that I won't be able to keep track of. I don't work like that. I don't function like that. That's why every time I do draw Genshin characters, I tend to simplify them, because I can't. I can't. Leg. Wait. Okay, yes. Okay, now I'll just fill it out. You know what I find kind of funny? So boba, right? Okay, not that I find boba funny, well, I like boba. Boba is a very fun thing for me to drink. I like it. Is it a tad expensive? Yeah, but, you know, it's special enough that I can deal with the price. Or maybe I'm just, like, really used to, like, soda that's, like, $2. But anyway, so one day, hanging out with a cousin of mine, and I ask her, do you want to get some boba? And she's like, yeah, sure. So we go to the shop, we buy some. Now see, I'm basic with, honestly, I'm basic with like most foods that I get, I ain't gonna lie. I'm very basic with like most of what I eat. I'm not the kind of person who like wants to try the entire menu. I'm more so the person who finds something that I like, and then that's it. That is the only thing I ever get. So for boba, I think the first time I tried it, I want it with like the classic boba in it, the tapioca ones. And so then and that's it. That's all I ever get. I only ever get tapioca. On occasion, I will get like, what is it called? The crystal jellies, I think is what it's called. But 99% of the time, I'm just getting the basic tapioca. So I go with my cousin to buy her drinks. You know, I always order mine with tapioca. I completely didn't hear my cousins. And then we get our drinks. We're drinking them like normal. And then I noticed that my cousin doesn't even have any boba in their actual drink. And I asked him, hey, your boba doesn't have boba in it. And they're like, oh, it's because I don't like it. And I'm like, you don't like the boba? No. And in my mind, I'm like, then why did you get it? And my mind is like, if you didn't like it, then why did you get it? Because to me, because I know there's people who don't really like the actual bubble, but they do like the tea, the actual drink part, right? But for me, maybe it's just a me thing. It's probably just a me thing. But for me, it's like, no, the entire point of boba is the boba. The entire point of bubble tea is the bubbles. You know what I mean? Like, that's the entire reason I'm getting it. That's the entire reason I'm shilling out $5-6. It's for the boba. And so, to me, I'm like, getting boba without the actual boba is like no different than me buying juice. You know what I mean? Or no different than me buying like tea from a convenience store. Like that juicy tea. There's no difference. And so I find it funny. I found it funny, and I'm like, then why did you get it? And then I found out that this girl ain't even like the only one. Apparently, like, a lot of people buy like bubble tea but don't buy the actual like bubbles themselves. And again, that's just like so odd to me, because I'm like, but isn't that like the whole point? Like, the whole point of boba is the boba. And like, look, if you don't like the tapioca, that's fine. I like the tapioca. But there's also like the popping boba, there's the crystal jellies, both the rectangular and the circular ones. So like, if you don't even like the tapioca, there's like other ones that people put in there as well. I don't know, it's just like, for me, I'm like, no, but that's like the fun part. That's the reason why the straw is so big. That's a me thing. Okay, I'm done with his body. I'll actually put some of the other coloring on another layer. Hold on a second. I forgot to draw that detail. Hold on. Forgot to draw this little detail here. There we go. Just get the right brush. The brushes may look the same, but they have very small differences that I've placed. Okay. Actually, let me do the earrings first. Cora says, I have yet to actually try boba. Personally, I recommend it. Judging by the reactions of people I've met in real life who try boba for the first time, it low-key kind of feels like you either love it or hate it. I personally really like it. I mean, I don't go insane for it. I'm not like, oh my gosh, boba, heck yeah, but I am definitely like, I mean, yeah, it's good. I get it on occasion. I get it when I feel like it, when I want to shell out the cash. But yeah. I personally think it's pretty good, including the bubbles, which, as I've mentioned, like for me, it's like I have to get boba with the bubbles. If not, then I'm just buying juice. Also, be mindful of like what boba shop you're getting it from, because there is one boba shop like near where I live that, okay, it doesn't suck ass, okay? They're not that bad. They're not that bad. They're fine. They're tolerable. It's okay. It's serviceable to an audience who really doesn't care about the quality of the boba. It's fine. It's alright. It's alright. They either put a little too much water or a little too much milk, because I like the milk tea ones. And then there's, like, bigger chains, like some bigger, like, boba chains. Those are better. Those are pretty good, actually. I do get from them, quite a lot, mostly because it's convenient. They're a lot better, but, I mean, obviously the best bobas are almost always gonna be the one from, like, Asian establishments. Like, there's this Japanese shop, near where I went to school, and they sold boba, and I loved it. I loved their bubble tea so much, and it was like, I loved it a lot. And it was also at a good price too. But yeah. However, you know, it's not a guarantee, obviously. Like, there was this other bubble tea place that a friend of mine decided to try. Like, we've never seen it. We decided to try it. And maybe it was just the way they cooked it or they made it, but the boba was just, like, not that good. The drink itself was fine, but the actual bubble tea, the actual bubbles, which I will mention this so many times, is, like, the entire reason why I am drinking it. It just was not good. So it is kind of like a gamble. Generally, obviously, the Asian establishments tend to have, like, amazing bubble tea, but it's not 100% a guarantee. Doctor says, what are you drawing? So, I'm drawing some, Genshin Impact fan art. Well, it's not super recognizable that it's Genshin, but it is supposed to be. It's basically, Renova, which is the god of death, with, my design, my interpretation of Xbalanque, who is the first Pyro Archon, because in the lore, they are stated to, they're stated to, like, know each other pretty well. And I thought it'd be really cute if I, like, drew a piece of fan art of the two of them together. And I'm rambling about bubble tea. Let's just get Renova out of here. Alright, is that part done? Mostly. Earrings, done. Guess I'll just do the gold accents then. But yeah. Basically what I'm trying to say here is, well, I mean, this is the case for, like, all foods, pretty much. That's an ad, isn't it?
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now, and the best partner is the one who...
Thanks. It's basically the case for all foods, really, but, I think your opinion on boba also will depend on, like, where you get it from. That too. But honestly, like, more of, like, the chains, the, like, boba chains, they're not, like, the most amazing bubble tea, like, ever, you know, but they're good enough. They're good. I like them. I buy them. If you want something good, then I'd say those. And, yeah. pretty sure this part is also gold. This guy wears a lot of gold. Whoops. And then this part here. Lawrence XX asks me what app. For this, I am using Procreate. But if this is a springboard for you asking about art programs and which ones you want to use, my personal recommendation for free, Metabang Paint Pro. If you want to shell out a one-time purchase, Clip Studio Paint. But Procreate is super convenient. Procreate is incredibly convenient if you need something. Like, if first of all you can shill out cash for an iPad, which I didn't for so long, and then shill out a few more bucks for Procreate. Personally, I think Clip Studio Paint is much better than Procreate. But Procreate is so unbelievably convenient that it accidentally became my main. Lawrence XX says, okay. That and these gold parts. Gold parts of his earrings. Jess Cobalt says, yo! Hello! And a little necklace piece. Okay. Actually, I might as well just, like, paint in his teeth. And then eyes. Now, every once in a while, I think about, hold up. Just Cobalt says, I start my orientation next week for trade school. Way happy. That's neat, it's neat. Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna be that generation that TikTok likes to make fun of. My orientation was on a Zoom class. I never got an in-person orientation. All of that was done on Zoom because it was during la pandemique. Okay, that looks terrible. But what I was gonna say is that every once in a while I like think back to my old animatics, because unlike a lot of other creators, I like looking back at my old work, mostly because I think it's pretty cool when, I don't know, I just like seeing the improvement that I have, you know? because every time I get like a little self-conscious and I'm like, oh, my art is like not that good, I tend to like to look at like my older stuff and be like, wow, no, actually I have improved like quite a lot actually. Like this? Me from even a couple years ago could never. But that's, yeah, so I was looking back at like my old animatics that I used to make, and I told myself, wouldn't it be so cool if I remade them, but like with the skills that I have today? And it's a thought that I have. But then I'm all like, no, because I still have other videos that I need to finish. I still have that damn like 4 shades video that I have like the script and stuff done. And I like hate the fact that it's been literal weeks. Like, that video is going to come out and people are gonna be like, girl, everybody knows the designs of the shades. Everyone's talked about the shades. That happened like a month ago. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just like a lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened, so this video took forever to make. That combined with I still want to finish my epic dissection. I just keep getting like distracted by other things. The first thing I got distracted was the Goofy movie thing. Cause like my plan was to start part 2 of the epic review like right after the first one, and then Goofy movie had its anniversary, so I had a little pit stop with that one, and then I played the Natlin World Quests, and yeah, I played the Natlin World Quest, and I loved them so much that I just like, no, I have to make a video about this, and then now like the shade things came out, and I wanted to do a video on that. And it just kind of became a whole mess, and the epic hype has basically died. But, like, I do want to finish those. I do want to finish those. Just Cobalt says, I spent my whole 8th grade year on Google Meets, lol. Now we're here. Now we're here. Just Cobalt says, I remember finding you from your Ruby Brooklyn Nine-Nine video, and seeing that to now is absolutely crazy. That, every time I think about that, it's absolutely crazy. Sometimes I wonder, do I want to go back to that? I say it as if I didn't like making them. I loved making those videos so much. But you know, like, my content has shifted a bit more towards, I guess it's shifted more towards a mixture of me talking about, like, art and animation, and also, like, showing you guys my progress, or, like, my art journey, I guess, let's put it. It's kind of more shifted onto that specifically. Sometimes I think it's because after college, you know, like, you start thinking about, like, I want to, like, establish myself as an artist, you know, I'm not just making silly animations just because it's, like, this fun little pastime I had. It's like, no, this is something that I need to take a lot more seriously, and I feel like that kind of geared my channel into being a little bit more serious about things. But every once in a while, I'm like, man, I want to go back to that. I want to go back to just making these, like, dumb videos with blob characters. And I kind of pivoted towards animatics for a little bit. And I still want to make more animatics, especially because I don't have to animate the whole thing. Especially that. Unlike my older videos where I would animate the entire thing. But, like, I don't know, I'm also just like, oh, but I want to, like, talk about, like, X, Y, and Z as well, and I also want to improve myself as a writer, which means that I want to, like, read out some, like, stories that I've made, and talk about stories that I've made, and, like, Just Cobalt says, the old 3 a.m. Minecraft video was truly iconic. Oh my goodness, oh man, that video came from, like, I think I was just able, because when you, at least at the time, I don't know how about now, but at the time, you don't start your YouTube channel with the ability to make custom thumbnails, and when I made the Minecraft video, or, like, more accurately, at the time of the Minecraft video, I finally was able to have the option to customize my thumbnails, and I thought, well, you know what would be really funny? Like a super overly clickbait thumbnail because I could customize it now, like a really clickbait thumbnail. And so I put like, don't play Minecraft at 3 a.m. Herobrine showed up, gone wrong. The red circle, like arrow, red circle with the arrow, shocked emoji, like like basically all of like the clickbait trends. And like the joke, I guess, was that like the title and the thumbnail was all clickbait, and then the actual video was just me playing Minecraft. That was it. Oh, it's so bad though. It's so bad. Cora says that's a callback, literally. Oh, this part right here. But yeah, I kind of want to go back to making animatics as well. I want to appease my poor Lorax fans. my poor Lorax fans who have patiently been waiting for me to make the next Lorax animation for like the past 2 years. And I know I sounded really sarcastic, but I do want to finish my Lorax saga. I had this idea of literally when I finish my Lorax saga, I make a playlist like in the chronological order of like the story. Just Colbot says, Herobrine stole my dog at 3 a.m. Herobrine came to my house. Okay. Still a detail in his earrings now. Lawrence XS says, is this Hermes or am I tripping? No, I explained this a couple times. This is my own interpretation of a, Genshin Impact lore character. Well, lore character in the sense of they only ever appear in, like, lore and artifacts and weapons and stuff, and this is supposed to be, this is, like, my interpretation of his design. Ducky Cast says, good morning. It's not morning for me, but it might be morning for you. I don't know. Just Colbot says, oh my goodness, Vines part 1 and 2 were also great. I remember being like, oh man, we're going to go up from here. He took all the jam. The Vines, that was around the time I wanted to introduce my OCs to you people. I remember that. Cause I've talked about my OCs a couple times before, but they were my babies for a really long time. They still are. And I kind of wanted to like slowly make more like OC content, but I felt like I needed to, you know, like properly introduce them to the audience. And those videos were like kind of like the start of me like introducing them. And then I got into the King Arthur stuff, and that and plans changed. Let's just say that plans changed after that one. Okay. Done with that. Oh wait, his hair. His eyes, which is the same color as his hair. I'll do his hair on a separate layer, you'll see why. And his skin on a separate layer. Because it's some new techniques I'm trying to, like, figure out. Just Colbot says, it was like 4 back-to-back vids about your OCs. Yep, that was me, like, properly introducing them to you people. Yeah. If I'm gonna be honest, most of those characters have stayed pretty much the same, even today, but that's more so of the fact that I've just, like, I haven't really touched them in a really long time. I will draw them on occasion, but like nowadays when I draw my OCs, it's more so out of nostalgia, and wow, that sounds weird. It's more so out of nostalgia. Like, for instance, wow, I haven't drawn Princess Coloratura in so long. I haven't drawn her in absolutely forever. So, you know, what if I just, like, you know, what if yeah, and bada bing bada boom. But yeah, nowadays I more so draw them for nostalgia reasons, but that sounds so weird, because, like, yeah. Just Colbot says, and we never saw them again. Yeah. 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 I don't really know what else to say other than, I had plans to do more content with them, and then I just kind of not forgot about them. I haven't forgot about them. It's more so like my focus on what I wanna, because it's what I mentioned earlier, that like by the time I went to college, I started like really thinking about like more, I started thinking about like my art a lot more seriously, you know, like this isn't just something that I do for fun anymore. This is something that I do want to make into something. And while I was making my OC videos, I was also, while I was making the OC videos, I also had the King Arthur Robin Hood thing going on as well, more so in the background. This is like, I think this was before I even introduced those stories to you guys. And like after a while, I started to think like my legend stories just have a lot more potential, I guess, like as a real serious piece of art than my OC series, where my OCs were like, they have character development, they have lore and backstories and stuff like that, but you know, because I made them like for fun. All of their comics I made for fun. Their videos I made for fun. Like, nothing was ever taken too seriously. You know, my characters would have lore and backstory, but it was never serious, you know? As opposed to these legend characters where it's like, no, I do want to tell, like, an actual, real, serious story with them. And I just kind of felt like, because I'm taking the legend stories a lot more seriously, personally, I just kind of feel like they just have more potential. More potential in the sense that, like, this is a proper, cohesive narrative, as opposed to my OCs, which was honestly just me slapping in whatever I liked. You know what I mean? It was honestly just me slapping in stuff that I liked. Like, oh, I like the wild child trope. Jaybird. I like the girly princess who's actually like a cool fighter, Princess Coloratura. I had a portal phase way back. Ooh, I want a character to be like a literal test subject at a lab. AJ's job. I like Gravity Falls, the yellow guy. You know what I mean? So yeah. And so it was more so just like a shift in focus, a shift in like what I want to like do more in like a professional sense, I guess. Yeah, Cora says, I really like the Teddy character. Teddy character? Oh, man. I don't know who that is. Doesn't ring many bells right now. Just Cobot says, the Two Birds animatic was so good, and it never got expanded upon. Oh, it really was just left there, wasn't it? Oh, you know what? No, I'll tell you all the story of Two Birds then. I'll tell you the story of the Two Birds animatic. Well, not the animatic, but like the story behind it, I guess. Okay, so in my OC series, which I keep calling it my OC series, it had a name. It had a name. It was Just My Life. I'm telling you, I'm really bad with names. It was called Just My Life. Because it was like a slice of life, and it was just characters like messing around. Cora says he was blue. Oh, Bear Blue! Yeah! Bear Blue, ah, man, I feel so bad for, like, well, not Bear Blue, but, like, I feel bad that, like, he was just born. He was just born, and I had, like, all of these little stories in my head for him. And then I, like, never touched him again. And it sucks because for me, like, turning Bear Blue into, like, an actual OC of mine was like, oh, here's, like, a big part of my childhood. No, seriously, like, this was a doll that I absolutely loved when I was a little kid. And making it into another doll, but for adults. That sounded very weird. Like, a character that I can, like, play around with But it's not like a physical doll. It's like a drawing, you know? Yeah, okay, so two birds. So in the world, I guess, of Just My Life, it takes place in a nondescript European kingdom that's kind of low-key, basically the Alps. There is a sort of monarchy. There is a somewhat monarchy, but like the series takes place in the modern day, so it's like a constitutional monarchy, I guess. And the princess is Princess Coloratura, and she has a younger brother who went through several names way back when, but I eventually settled on Orion. So she has a brother named Orion, and Coloratura is the much more like out there, like extroverted, like she's the person who likes to like go into town and like talk to people and stuff like that, as opposed to Orion, who's a lot more of like the shy, reserved type. And yeah, he's much more of the shy, reserved type. I was thinking like Orion doesn't really have any friends. He is the youngest of my OCs. Yeah, he was the youngest of my OCs. All of my OCs were like somewhere in the 20s range, while Orion was still in high school. And because he was the heir to the throne, yes, the younger one was the heir. I had like lore for that. Anyway, so because he was the heir to the throne, he had to go to a, he had to go to like one of those like richy preppy schools, while Coloratura had the chance to go to like to basically a state school. She basically went to a state school. Again, I had lore for this. It has to do with like their dad, because their dad is a commoner, but anyway, that's not important. So, Orion never really fit into the rich kids, because even though they are rich, like, I was thinking that, like, attitude-wise, culture-wise, and also because, like, their dad just kind of tries to, like, let them live out, like, normal lives like he once did. He's a lot closer to common people than he is to rich people, so he doesn't really have many friends in that sense. Yeah, he doesn't really have a lot of friends in that sense. And, when he was a little kid, finish his hair. And when Orion was a little kid, he would normally just, they're middle class for real. basically, I thought, cause like, again, like, these characters were basically just me slapping in tropes and stuff that I really liked. And, I really wanted characters who were rich, who were stupidly rich, but like at their core they're just like they act like normal people. They can just buy things more often. And it's also just like a little bit of wish fulfillment as well, because like I kind of got sick of characters in media like if they're rich they have to be a spoiled brat. I kind of low-key got sick of that, and I'm like, why can't we have any rich characters who are like normal? So that's kind of like where they came from. And then like the lore that I gave them was like, oh, it's because like their dad is like a commoner, and so even though they are raised rich, like culturally, I guess, question mark. What am I doing? It should be more like that, I guess. Culturally, I guess they're more similar to like middle class people, I guess. Bro raised an octave. Huh? But anyway, I'm getting distracted. So when Orion was like a little kid, because again, he's like a more shyer, reserved kid than his sister is. As a little kid, he would just follow her around. It's because large amounts of money give them a big head. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean, that it was like wish fulfillment type thing. It was wish fulfillment. It's like, oh, I want like very rich characters to just kind of like act normal. Again, with the exception of the fact that they have fat stacks. But yeah, so baby Orion, well, little kid Orion, he would just kind of like follow around his sister everywhere because, you know, she was his big sister, and he also didn't really have any friends growing up, and he would just kind of hang out with her all of the time. And Coloratura was completely fine with it. I did want these siblings to be like really, really close. I wanted these siblings to be like inseparable. And so Coloratura was fine with it. She was happy having her brother around. And she would go out to like play with her friends, and Orion would follow along. And even though Coloratura wouldn't mind having her little brother around, because again, he wouldn't be that annoying. Again, he's kind of like quiet, reserved kid. But although she wouldn't mind having him around, I was thinking that, like, because Coloratura is the much more, like, out there of the two, you know, like, Orion kind of sort of, and also because Orion is the youngest, Orion kind of sort of felt a little left out when he was little. You know, he couldn't relate to these kids that are, like, older than he is, and yeah, he couldn't relate to the kids that were older than he is, and Coloratura would be so focused on playing with her friends than, like, noticing that her brother is, like, kind of sort of left out. And so, yeah. And then years go by. Orion's older. He's in high school. I had this idea that he, Bruce Wayne, though. I'm just gonna color Renova in. I had the idea that, Orion kind of like skips school all the time. He skips his rich school because he doesn't like it very much, and he can't relate to any of the kids there. And also he's the prince, so like, you know. But anyway, so, he basically, because he's in his, like, angsty, a real emo boy, yeah, because he's, like, in his angsty phase, he's in his emo phase, because Orion is in his emo phase, he still hangs out with Coloratura and her friends, but he's, like, even more distant than he already was. Like, he's more so, like, he's literally Cinderella, is he? Is he? I'm trying to like, sorry, I'm like talking and trying and like drawing at the same time. He definitely listens to MCR. Yes, 100%. I literally, like, I never had a My Chemical Romance phase per se. Or more so, I tried to have a My Chemical Romance phase. I tried to. But I could only really get into, like, 2 of their songs. I couldn't really get into, like, anything else. But I would 1,000%, 100% imagine him listening to, Welcome to the Black Parade and, what was it? Teenagers. I'm not okay. That one too. That one too. 24/7. That one too. But yeah, no. 100%. Like, I wouldn't say like in canon, but in the mind of God, me, I'm the God because I created him. He 100%. Yes, he does listen to MCR. Karumi Galaxy says, "Can you draw me?" Unfortunately, I'm a bit busy with this drawing, so not for this stream. And maybe one stream I should like draw y'all's OCs, but that would be more so like in a sketch form if I were to do that. Ah, shoot! I don't have an image of her legs. Are you serious? Ugh. Bro absolutely loves Helena. Helena was one of those songs that I like tried to get into and I just like couldn't. Then again, I haven't listened to it in a very long time. Hold on for a second while I'm looking for this woman's legs. Okay. Okay, so it is the same, like, light color. Just wanted to double check, just wanted to make sure. Wait, is this all on the same layer? Oh, God, it is, okay. Because I'm separating, like, the skin and hair layers because I'm trying out this new, like, drawing, well, coloring technique, shading rendering technique. Okay, but back to the story, So, he's kind of having a bit of, like, an emo phase, and he still clings on to his he still clings on to his sister and her friends. However, because he's having a bit of an emo phase, he's like even less involved with them than he used to be when he was like a lot younger. So while like younger Orion would occasionally try to engage with them, like teenage Orion was basically set dressing. Like there were the three main characters. There were the main three, and Orion. And he never like fully related to them anyway. But I was thinking like as a teenager, he's like even more distant from them due to the fact that his sister and his friends are now adults, you know, as opposed to Orion, who is still in high school. And yes, I do imagine that sometimes he would just skip school to hang out with them, though. Well, hang out in the sense of, like, just kind of be there. Which, I mean, I guess it is hanging out. I mean, like, I was thinking that because Orion was, like, a much more reserved character, he's not much for, like, small talk. He's much more of a sit and chill kind of guy. And that's what he liked to do with these people. He just liked to sit and chill with them. However, however, one day I was like, you know what? I do want to give Orion a little bit of character development. Karumi Galaxy says, do I like Vocaloids? Unfortunately, I could never get into Vocaloids. It mostly has to do with the, AI voice. I personally just couldn't really get into them too much. I like Miku's design, though. Like, call me a fake fan, but I think, like, Miku's design is really, really cute, and all of her, like, variations. But I could never really get into Vocaloid music. Just Cobalt says, type of friend to mysteriously disappear for hours to randomly show up again. Yeah, he's like that. So one day I was like, I really need to give this boy some character development, some character development, because I did kind of find it a little bit, like, on one hand, it was like, oh, it's really nice that, like, he has a kind of friend group that just kind of likes to, like, chill with him and stuff. But there was another part of me that was also like, I kind of want this boy to, like, find himself, so to say, outside of his sister. Because, like, up to that point, in my lore, Orion's entire life was surrounded by his sister. Like, he doesn't even have, like, friends of his own. His friends are just his sister's friends that he happens to hang out with. And I had this little idea that he quite literally did that millennial thing of traveling the world and quote-unquote finding himself. I just thought, you know what, that's what he's going to do. And hold on, I'm just like checking something. Hold up. Okay, I'll just do this now. Just Cobalt says, the character development is him moving on from NCR to gorillas. Just Cobalt also says, the beeps and boops make me feel old and scared. So I kind of thought, like, not that it's sad that his only friends are his sisters, but I was also like, I do feel like he needs a life outside of her. And so I had this little idea that, like, I had this little idea that he wanted to be a musician after that. Like a rock star. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but no, I was being real when I said that this boy was, like, an emo kid. Like, he plays guitar, he, like, listens to, like, alt rock, because I was in my emo phase at the time. I still listen to alt rock, but, though not as much anymore. So I was thinking that, like, when he eventually decides that, like, oh, maybe I want to be, like, a musician, I want to be, like, a rock star or something. However, Culvertura, his sister, was really, really against it. Mostly due to the fact that, like, I remember the guitar. Really leaning into that rocker vibe. Oh man, it was a time. But, yeah, but his sister didn't want him to be a musician because I also wanted, this was also around the time that I was really thinking about the fact that they were royalty and the fact that being a royal basically means that you have absolutely zero privacy, like, at all in your life. And so I was thinking, like, to his sister, she doesn't want him to be a musician. Not because she doesn't want him to play music, but because, like, because her brother would lose the very little amount of privacy that he does have if he becomes, like, a musician and all of that. Yeah. And so she brings Jax, who is another of my characters who's basically his entire vibe is that he's like his online presence is this like emo punk guy, but in reality he's like a soft boy and a massive weeb. and a massive weeb, and he reads fanfiction, and now that I say that out loud, the emo vibe actually fits in even more, but like, it was meant to be like a funny juxtaposition. It was meant to be a funny, like, oh, you think this guy is like, life is pain, and then you find him and he's like, I don't know, he's like, sugoi, and all that. I thought it was funny at the time. I thought it was funny. Poppy Batty says hi, hello! But it's nothing here. I could just go crazy here. Bro is for real a theater kid, low-key. Cora says, oh my gosh, the guy with the freckles? No, he is a rival. Well, fabricated rival. Let me just draw him real quick in wait, no. So he kind of had, like, hair that kind of went like that. He had, like, this super long, like, fringe thingy. He had, like, a streak of red. I completely forgot how, like, the back of his hair looked, honestly. He wore, like, a sleeveless shirt with, like, the ripped sleeves. His hands he had, like, the studded... this stuff. Yeah, that's Jax. Oh, and he would wear eyeliner, although I don't think it was ever, like, fully shown very well, but, like, canonically he wore eyeliner. Poppy Batty says emo. Yep, that was kind of, like, the whole point of, like, his, design, I guess, was that he looked, like, very emo. But he was not. Cora says, oh, the guy with the red hands? Yes. Poppy Batty says slay. Lawrence XS says, the guy is the sigma of all emos. Oh my gosh. All rich kids are either, Jeffrey from what the heck is wrong with me? Jeffrey from Game of Thrones or just emo edgelords. But yeah, so Jax, he's like an internet celebrity, because I thought it was funny. He was an internet celebrity who I already mentioned, but like his whole thing is being like this like emo guy, but in reality, it's fake. It's all a fabrication. Like I was thinking like he works for a company and for this media company, and like his and like him in the online sphere is more so like a character he's playing. But that's Jax lore. That's Jax lore. Coloratura brings in Jax to basically tell Orion like his own personal experience of being like a big name to the public. And he basically tells Orion like, don't do it. Like, oh yeah, because I forgot to mention this, but Jax does not. He kind of regrets his decision of being an internet celebrity. I forgot to mention that. So he basically tells Orion, don't do it. Like, first of all, as a prince, you already have to go through stuff that I go through, and I don't want you to go through more, especially at like your age, because like at this point Orion's like 16, 17. He's like, at your age, this is not something you should ever have to deal with. Just Cobalt says, I don't want to be a king, Dad. I want to be a musician. Little did he know, his dad was a musician. A failed one. His band never took off. And he started working at a fast food restaurant, and then he fell in love with Orion's mother. But that's their lore. That's their lore. Okay, but back to the story. So, yeah, so Jax basically tells Orion, like, don't do it. Like, I promise you that you will regret this decision. And Orion does take it because, I mean, he is a prince. Like, he already does have to go through a lot of stuff. And then it kind of is like a wake-up call of, like, do you really, like, actually for real want to go through more? And so, Orion basically decides, you know what, maybe instead I should just, like, go out and, because he basically does the millennial thing where he goes out traveling to, like, experience the world and stuff like that. Just Cobalt says, Bro's dad was like, isn't that what happened in, Bob's Burgers? I've only ever watched a few episodes of Bob's Burgers, so I don't know. But, yeah, he basically decides to go out and, like, basically, like, find himself, I guess. And I had this idea that, as he's, like, out, like, traveling and stuff, Orion finds a newfound interest in both cooking and photography. And so he starts to like a lot of his interests starts to like pivot more into that. And because I was thinking that they kind of live in like this like alpine area, and why does this gray look so weird? Why does this gray look so weird? Oh, because it just looks like that? Okay. This better look good in its finished product, I swear. But yeah, like, so, because of that, like, this was, like, around the time, like, I never ended the comic series, but this was, like, this was around the time where the end was Nia. Orion started to, like, move a lot more towards, like, his interest in, like, photography, his interest in cooking, and stuff like that, and, because they live, like, in kind of, like, an alpine region, it's basically Switzerland. Because they live in, like, an alpine region, Orion would often go out into the mountains and just kind of, like, chill with nature and take pictures and, like, also play music. And, I mean, he's a prince. Like, he doesn't really have to work if we're getting technical. But, oh my god, you people. Just Cobalt says he goes from soft emo boy to performative male with a matcha. Cora says next thing you know, he gets a Tumblr. But, and I think that's kind of how I left Orion's story, that like, I never gave him any proper friends, per se. Like, it's more like he's just able to find a life and interests that are separated from his sister. Because I kind of mentioned this before, but their dad is a failed musician. And so this is totally not inspired by Steven Universe, guys. Not at all. No siree. Not in the slightest. So, like, the two of them kind of sort of got into music because of their dad. And yeah, he kind of sort of got into music, like, because of their dad. And yeah. And so I was thinking that, like, the cooking and the photography and the hiking and the mountains kind of sort of becomes, like, Orion's own thing. And
I have a huge respect for small business owners, especially this.
It kind of sort of becomes, like, Orion's own little thing that he, like, does for himself. And he still hangs out with Coloratura's friends. I mean, they are basically his friends. They are his friends. He's just not as outwards towards them. He's just more of a, he's less of a chit chat friend and more of like sit here and vibe type friend. So those are his friends. I guess, like, I don't know, like, my idea for his character was that he's just able to do things and find things that aren't dependent on whether or not his sister is around. And, yeah. Oh my god, and I completely forgot, he also becomes friends with Jaybird, which was my little wild child character. I completely forgot, but he also starts forming, like, a little friendship with him. And because Jaybird is a character who is much more in tune with the mountains, that just kind of works out for the two of them. Jay is obviously a lot more of like the wild hunting like birds and stuff. While Orion is more of like sit by a rock, take pictures of a cliff type of guy. But like, I was thinking that the two of them kind of form like a small little friendship. I also had an idea that Jay is sent to Orion's school. Jay is taken to Orion's school, mostly because Orion is there to watch him. And so it does kind of annoy Orion, like, at first, but, like, over time, he's like, okay, like, actually, I kind of like you being here, not because you don't stress me out when you're about to bite a classmate, but because, oh my god, I actually, like, I have what you would consider a friend, at school. Just Cobot says he can't be a king when he's too busy reading feminist literature. You people. Cora says, I can make friends on my own, just watch. So many things that end up lining up on accident. Man. But that was kind of sort of how I left Orion when I never ended the series, but when I kind of just like stopped continuing it. That was kind of more or less how Orion was left. So, in my Two Birds animation, I obviously didn't show everything that I've mentioned. All of this is just kind of like context for the animation, because I wanted to show like 3 stages of Orion's life, which is Orion when he's a little kid, where he is a much more of like excitable, happier kid, but a much more like happier kid. However, he very clearly like clings on to his little sister for like everything. And then like the second phase is when he's like a teenager in his like emo phase, where you see that he still clings on to his sister, but like a little bit more distantly. And then his third phase, which, I mean, he's still a teenager, and then his like third phase where he is able to like go out and do things on his own without needing her there all the time. That's the context for the Two Birds animation, and that's the whole context, that's the story. Well, not the story of the Two Birds animation, but more or less like the context for it, like the story around it. But yeah. Okay. Would I make her skirt thingy the same color as her hair? I guess I am. Alright then. Sure. Let's grab her hair. Oh wait. Actually, yeah, no. We're good. Yeah, we're good. I was just thinking about it. Just Cobot says, truly a wonderful story, for real. Well, that was the story I made for him at the time. I was very, very much a novice writer, and it was also just me trying to take what was originally just a goofy, silly comic series, and it still is a goofy, silly comic series, but it was more so me trying to make sense of it in a little bit more of a serious matter. Just a little bit more. Just Cobot says, I'ma head out, I gotta eat, have a good stream everyone, and take care. Alright then, I hope you have a good meal. But yeah, it was mostly just me trying to like not just figure out how to write, I guess, but more so being like, I already have these stories and these characters with backstories and personalities. How can I make like character development out of this, you know? How can I spin this into not something serious per se, but something a little bit more set, as opposed to what the comic series was always, which was just a silly, goofy comedy that I made between me and my friends. Okay. Meh. That's an ad. Right? Yes.
You know how we all have that one friend we go to with all our financial questions? Well, meet
Leave. Okay. Yeah, I'll do her eyes. Oh my god, she's so pale. Hold up. She's so pale. Not as pale as your average Genshin character, but pale enough that I need to turn off her skin just so I can do the whites in her eyes. Cora says, have you added OCs made by friends to that story? Actually, no. Like, I actually don't. Pretty much. Well, okay. I just remembered. Technically, there was one. But she only ever appeared on one comic that again, like, these were all just, like, in computer paper. So when I mean one comic, I mean, like, a sheet of computer paper. She only ever appeared in one comic, and she was canonical to Jax's lore. And that was it. She was like the only character that I made between myself and one of my friends. But she was the only exception. All of my characters were, well, okay, they were either characters that were literally just ripped off of already existing characters in media, and I just kind of changed them a little to like fit my world, or it was just like it was just completely of my own creation. So, to answer your question, no. Like, there was that one, but she only ever appeared once, and although, like, she is canonical to my character's lore and story and stuff, like, she really isn't present enough, I guess, in the universe to really be considered a character, per se. Yeah. Okay, and her eyes are like a weird yellow, and I'm not doing that overly complicated pattern in her eyes. I'm just simplifying it because y'all ain't gonna look at that, I know that. Y'all ain't gonna bother. So why am I? Kind of looks like she has pupils. A little bit. It's fine enough. You know what, actually, I'll just make her eyelashes black, honestly. I'll just do that. I'm too lazy to make them anything else. red spots. I was gonna be like, and her hair. Wait, no, not yet. Not hair yet. We're not there yet. This part right here. Lauren's XX asks, how to make lore? Me procrastinate. I am going to assume that you're asking, how to make lore when you procrastinate on making it. I'm going to assume that. Okay. So when I'm going to talk about lore, I'm going to talk about more so character backstory, not necessarily like world building, because I personally am really bad at world building. Like, I'm really, really bad at it. I like it when world building is done super well. I mean, it's like half the reason I like Genshin Impact as much as I do, but I personally cannot do world building to save my life. So, this is more so going to be about like character backstory, character depth, all that good stuff. So the number one thing that when I make a character, the very first thing I think about is their base personality, like archetype, what their archetype is, right? So actually, okay, this is gonna sound so weird. I'm not gonna be using one of my OC characters. Well, I mean, he's basically an OC at this point. So with Xbalanque, so I've mentioned this a couple times before, but I'm like currently writing my own little like Natlan fanfiction about like Xbalanque and his like lore and backstory and all that stuff, because I've been doing that with a bunch of other like regions in Genshin, and one day I'll release those fics. One day I will. One day, I promise. But currently the Natlan fic is kind of sort of a bit in development, so to say. So because Xbalanque like doesn't really have that much of a character in Genshin itself, a lot of what I did is all my invention, right? Like even his design that I made for him, even though it is based off of the murals, it's still kind of sort of my own thing. So I'm going to use him for an example. So what is his base personality, or more accurately, what is his archetype? From the little we see of him and understand of him in the game itself, he has like two modes. He has a bit of a shonen protagonist type of vibe, like definitely a like, oh yeah, let's do this. Oh man, look how cool I am at fighting. Like, oh, Dragon Sovereign? Heck yeah, let's fight. But of course he has another like more serious mode where he's like, you know, I need to protect like my nation and its people, and I will do whatever it takes to like, I'll do whatever it takes to like protect them and stuff. But for me, his main basic archetype for me was just kind of like the overly excitable like protagonist, right? This like goofier, sillier guy that nobody expects to become like the hero of his story. That was his like main, that was his main like personality trait that I gave him. And then after that, I thought about like, what is the world he lives in? No. What is his character arc, so to say? Like, how does he change throughout the story? That was the next thing I thought about. And so, I mean, Genshin already kind of had the story kind of written out for me. He was just an average human, and then he became a god, right? And, well, he was an average human, had a friend group, slayed some dragons, became a god. Like, the game itself already gave me a character arc for him. Now, what I did was kind of like flesh it out. It's like, how did this normal guy become the Archon? And that kind of led to me like crafting his arc, where he starts off as this like overly excitable student. However, like deep down inside of him, he has like this very strong desire for like a better world for his nation. And over time, over the course of the story, he starts like slowly starting to change, starting to become, well, still like a silly, goofy guy, but starting to like really lock in and be like, I don't know, just be a little bit more serious about things. I'm just figuring out where her like hair would, I guess like here, nah, here. I'm sorry, I'm just like trying to figure out how her hair would go. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. That's fine enough. Sorry, a bit of a detour. Okay, so, yeah, so my next thing was just, yeah, like, basically outlining his basic character arc. Like, how does he go from this to this, and what are the main events that lead up to it? Because, yeah, what are the main events that lead up to it? What are some big moments throughout the story that will cause this little shift in character, right? And, not only big moments that cause a shift in character, but also little details, like how does he start to maneuver himself? How does he start to interact with people? Like, I was thinking, like, at the beginning of the story, like, he's kind of, like, annoying. He's kind of annoying in the beginning of the story, where he's like, if you don't want to, like, join my alliance and follow up with my plan, let's fight about it. Meanwhile, like, over the course of the story, he starts getting really sick of fighting, and he wants to, like, he starts getting really sick of fighting and wants to, like, try to use more so diplomacy. And then when the diplomacy fails and he has to fight anyway, he starts to get, like, kind of frustrated at that. And so, but while still keeping the fact that, like, you know, this is still an excitable guy who likes to brawl. It's just that, like, the very specifics of that start to, like, shift a little bit. So yeah, that's the next thing that I typically do is, figure out, like, what their character arc. The next thing I do is give them backstory. Yeah, no, I do the character arc before the backstory. I do the character arc before the backstory. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah. So, I need to remove your face again. So, when it comes to backstory, I tend to think, okay, now I have who this character is, and how this character becomes who he is in the end. Now, how did we get here? How did we get a person like this, right? And when it comes to backstory, you can honestly, like, play around with it, because the fact of the matter is that, you know, different people react to different situations in different ways, right? But it's still just the general overall gist of, okay, how does a backstory fit in, not only in the world that I have built, in the world that this character lives in, but also, like, how is the backstory going to fit in his personality? How is it going to, not only his personality, how is it going to fit in with the story, I guess? It's the reason why with my King Arthur characters, a lot of the knights, although I need to talk about them more often because you guys have no idea, I just realized. With a lot of the knights, it's a reason why a lot of them have very normal childhoods, you know? They have, like, relatively, like, stable families and normal childhoods, because for a lot of the knights, especially the unimportant ones, their backstory really isn't all that important. I gave them backstory to give context on their personalities, but because it's not that important to the overall story, I didn't really focus on it way too much. So, you know, as opposed to a more important character like Mordred, which the previous stream was, like, all about that. So, for Xbalanque's backstory, I'm like, okay, so what kind of, okay, so his base personality is this happy-go-lucky dude. However, deep down, hidden inside of him, he has this great desire to make the world a better place. And so I was thinking, okay, so what if, despite him being this, like, happy-go-lucky, well, not happy-go-lucky, but this really, like, excitable guy, what if his backstory is actually, like, really sad and really tragic, and he uses that happiness as a way to, like, cope with it, sort of say. And maybe the reason why he has this such strong desire to make the world a better place is because not all he's ever known, is because he's gone through a lot of tragedy in his life, right? That's what I was kind of thinking. But more importantly, like, his life isn't, but I'm also like, okay, he has a tragic backstory, was my thought. However, I can't make his entire life completely depressing, doom and gloom, because this is still a guy who has a lot of hope. Like, yeah, this is still a guy who has a lot of hope, and this is still a guy who absolutely loves his homeland. And so, for me, it's like, okay, tragic backstory, but still a reason to find happiness. So, tragic, but not absolutely horrifically depressing. That's kind of how, like, I'm thinking about it. That's how I'm going about it. Cora says, I remember the streams you did drawing each of the... Oh, that's an old one! That is old! Oh my god! Cora says, I remember the streams you did drawing each of the knights as little chibis. Those were some neat streams. Oh boy, that is ancient. Oh. Damn. Some designs have changed. Yeah. Like, I know I drew them as chibis, but some designs have changed. I need to do a new stream drawing them as chibis again, but like with the updated versions. Oh my god. I need to get some water. Hold on very quickly. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so I basically settled on, like, tragic backstory, yes, but not too tragic. Like, this is still a guy who still has hope, which means that, you know, there's a reason why he still has hope. Okay, so then I'm like, the world he lives in. And in Natlan lore, because, you know, it's Genshin, so it already kind of had a world set up for me. In Natlan lore, this is a war-torn area. This is an area just filled to the brim with conflicts and, well, I mean, yeah, conflicts and bloodshed and just, like, it's a war zone, right? Quite literally. Not only that, there is also this little detail. There's also these little details that, in Natlan, for the longest time, the people could not leave their nation. They couldn't leave their nation, because something to do with, like, the ley lines and stuff. It's, like, really overcomplicated lore stuff. I don't really want to confuse you guys, but basically, if the people of Natlan cross the border, they, like, lose their memories and go insane. That's what happened. And so there was also that little element, and there was, like, a little part of me that thought, okay, this is a war-torn land. Wouldn't people want to leave Natlan? However, if they leave, then they would forget everything. And so then I thought, oh, well, there had to have been some people that did that. There had to have been some people who decided that insanity was better than living in war. And that in and of itself is already a really sad thought. Couple that with the fact that Xbalanque, like, has no parents, like, in lore. I mean, we know nothing of his backstory in the canonical lore, but yeah. Couple that with the fact that, like, you know, info on his parents is non-existent because info on his backstory is non-existent. That's when I had the idea. That's when I got the idea. What if when he was young? What if when he was young, his parents left him to leave Natlin? And, well, that's not the tragedy. The tragedy isn't the fact that they left him. The tragedy, it's the fact that they chose insanity over him. And after that happened, he was kind of sort of like raised by, you know, the rest of his tribe. It wasn't just it. Then I was like, no. I want the fact that his parents are dead to, like, kind of be something that really sticks with him. Because if it happened when he's a child, then it wouldn't be all that. Like, it would hurt, yeah, but I don't think he would reel over it all that much, I was thinking. He wouldn't reel over all that much if it happened when he was a child. So I thought, what if it happened when he was a teenager? You know? So it wasn't just his parents left, but, like, it wasn't just the fact that his parents left, it's the fact that they didn't even bring him along. Somebody who was old enough to, like, to join them, kind of thing. Yeah. And after that, he's, like, raised by the rest of his tribe, again, during times of war. And, yeah, he's raised by the rest of his tribe during times of war, and I was thinking that, like, it wasn't the fact that his parents left, it was more so the fact that they chose insanity over him, which is the part that, like, really hurts him. And I was thinking that right there, that is going to be his motivation to helping the rest of to help his nation. That is going to be his motivation. Not the fact that he was abandoned, but the fact that he doesn't want insanity over family to be a decision you even have to make. He wants a world where that is not even an option in your mind. Not because it's impossible, but because your life isn't as bad. You know what I mean? And so I was thinking that it hurts him, like, just enough that it gives him, like, motivation to improve the world. Now on to, like, the more silly, goofy part of his personality. I was thinking that was just more so a coping mechanism. It was his way of coping of the abandonment that he suffered. And yeah, more so coping the abandonment now he suffered. Now see, in Natlin lore, it is surprisingly never stated what tribe he was a part of, which I'm still waiting for Natlin to, like, explain that, but they haven't mentioned that, which I think is a little interesting. Some people headcanon it to be people of the Springs. I personally headcanon it to be Vanessa's tribe, like Vanessa from the Genshin Impact manga, because he was around before the tribe left the nation. That's my headcanon, but this is just purely headcanon. But anyway, because in lore he does not have a stated tribe, I had the idea that in the actual story he left his tribe. I had the idea that in the actual story he left his tribe. Now, of course, there's the why did he leave his tribe? Because surely it can't just be from the conflict of war. He wants the world to be a better place. He wouldn't just abandon his tribe like that. I was thinking it was more so he just got really sick of everything. And I was thinking he's raised by his tribe, and then when he becomes, like, old enough to be, like, a proper, like, warrior type thing. When he's old enough to be, like, a proper warrior, the, like, elders of the tribe would tell him, like, okay, we're having some, like, conflicts with, like, this faction of, like, dragons or something, and I don't know, like, I want you to, like, infiltrate and do, like, X, Y, and Z, I don't know, war stuff. And Jablanc really didn't like that, because I was thinking that a lot of the things that he was told to do was very similar things that other people would do to their tribe. And so I was thinking, like, in his mind, and again, this matches up with his, like, aspiration to make a world a better place and all that. I was thinking, like, it would it would make him go, what's the point of, no, okay, let me rephrase that. I went through a lot of stuff, and I want to be a warrior to fix that stuff, and now you're just telling me to repeat it, kind of thing. And I was thinking that he really didn't like that, so he left his tribe. But not because he hates his tribe, not because he hates them. I was thinking, like, no, he loves his tribe, he loves his people, he loves Natlan, like, no freaking duh. That's kind of like Natlan's whole thing, is the fact that they love their land so much. He loves his nation. He just wants he loves his nation. He just wants his nation to not have to do that. Like, yeah. To not have to do all of these things just for the sake of survival. Yeah. He loves his home. He just doesn't want to be a spy for another tribe, I guess. However, it's not because... I'm trying to, like, formulate my words really well here. It's becoming hard to explain. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe his was a bad example. Like, he loves his tribe. He just hates that his people are in a situation where they even have to do these things. And he wishes that, like, they didn't have to be in that situation. You know, that kind of thing. That's what I was thinking. And, yeah, that's basically what I did with his character. That's kind of how I came up with his lore. Because everything I just said, everything about, like, his tribe and his motivations and his parents abandoning him, this is not in the game. This is purely my invention. This is purely stuff that I invented for him. Because, well, quite frankly, I needed to give him some sort of backstory. And, yeah. I guess basically what I'm trying to say here is, when it comes to making lore, my number one advice is to just break things down. Other people use different methods. Let me just get this out here. People use different methods on how they craft their characters and their backstories and their lore. But for me personally, how I craft them is personality first, character arc second. Yeah, personality first, character arc second, and then it's coming up with their backstory. And their backstory is basically a mixture of how did they become the person they are in the world that they live in. And yeah. And if it's in the world that they live in, well, yeah. And if it's a particularly important character, how does their backstory fit into the narrative, I guess? And at least the narrative that I'm going for, I'm not saying it's gonna be good. This is all for debate for you people. When I eventually post these. The narrative that I want in this story is, the narrative that I want for this story is basically like how war affects people, which was one of my main critiques slash wishes for the actual real Natlan story that we ended up getting. You know, it was advertised as a war story. I wanted war. I wanted to see how the war affected people, and yeah, we did kind of see that in Natlan, but I didn't feel like we saw that enough. You know what I mean? And so I wanted this story to kind of be more so like a deeper examination as to like war and its effects on different people and stuff like that. And he is one of them. I was thinking like he is one example that like war I guess like shaped him into the Archon. You know what I mean? Like, war shaped him to becoming this, like, strong, confident leader. Not necessarily because he wanted to be, but because just the circumstances of his life kind of made him, like, he ended up that way, I guess, you know? Okay, am I done with her? I guess I am. Okay, I'm just gonna color in these little spots here. And also her little hair thing, question mark. I don't know what that is. This. This thing. And, oh, Demon FD says buenas noches. And I think her trifecta thing, is that gold? Is that gold? No, it's silver, okay. Whoops. Okay. And they have red spots in the middle. I just looked back. Well, okay, that's too big. Alright, anything in the middle? Nope. Oh, they're triangles? Are you serious? They're triangle? Man, I don't care that much. I don't care that much. You're looking at this from a distance anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna put the little, like, sun details on Chebalank's eyes, and I think that might be it for today. Oh, I needed reference back. Thank you. So because the way I draw the eyes are so, because the pupils are the eyes, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I kind of. I don't draw pupils. I can't do, like, the normal sun thing. Well, I mean, I can, but I think that would, like, the eye shape itself is small enough that I think it was just gonna look weird. So, started doing more so, like, I mean, it's still a sun. It's still supposed to be a sun. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's too many spikes. See, I also need to keep in mind that, like, you're seeing this from a distance, right? Like, you're not even gonna be, like, seeing it super well. So it's also a balance of, like, how many, like, arrays do I even put? I'll just put that. A simple, like, crisscross type thing. Or actually, idea. Oh. Cora says, unless he had freakishly huge eyes, the details are gonna be a bit fuzzy. Yeah, exactly. That's why when it comes to, like, these little details, I try to keep them at, like, a minimum, because I ain't spending all that time for a detail that no one is even going to notice, and a detail that I'm not even gonna be able to draw that well because the space is so small. Like, for instance, these are basically supposed to be triangles, but let's be honest, are you actually gonna be looking at that? No, you're not. Same with this. This is, like, a type of shape. This is like a type of star, but, like, you're not even gonna be noticing that. Okay. Let's just remove the reference. So weird like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave things like this. We finished the coloring, so that's really, really neat. Yeah, we finished the coloring. I think that's pretty neat. And, I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. See, it's like I mentioned, I think, like, either last stream or the stream before, but when it comes to these drawing streams, it's a bit harder to, like, structure things, at least with the gaming ones. I can like enter the stream being like, guys, I'm like super excited for this quest, yada yada yada, and then I end the stream and I'm like, this is what I think about this quest, or stuff like that. But with these drawing streams, it's just kind of like, hi guys, I'm gonna be drawing, and then at the end I'm like, well, I'm done drawing. So, hey guys, I think I'm done for drawing for today. Okay, so for next stream, which, like I said, is most likely going to stay in the Monday and Wednesday time slot. Oh, time slots, weekdays. Yeah, most likely going to stay with that. For now, I seriously need to make like an actual legit announcement for that. But yeah. So hopefully on Monday's stream, unless something happens, I don't think we're going to be doing a drawing stream, mostly because Genshin's summer event is finally out, and so is its own respective Archon quest, because seriously guys, like, Genshin has been going ham on these quests right now, and I am living for it. So they just released their newest Archon quest. My brother played it, and he told me, dude, you are absolutely going to love this quest. It got a lot of Natlin lore. And I said, did you say Natlin lore? So, I am very excited for that, and I need to play it, because I love Natlin lore so much. Yeah. As for this drawing, I still think I'm just gonna, like, leave this drawing, like, just for the streams. So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So for next week, I think we're going to be doing, like, the little summer events. Yeah, for next week, we're going to be doing the little summer event, well, okay, not the summer event, but the Archon quest that came out. Because the summer event and the Archon quest are different. Cora says they've been generous with the quests this year. Literally, it's crazy. I'm happy about that, though. I'm so happy about that, because, I mean, I already have an unhealthy obsession with this game, but now I have an excuse. So yeah, so I think for next week, we're going to start the Archon quest, and once we finish that, I don't know if I'm going to jump immediately onto the summer event first, or just continue this drawing, but I would like to get this drawing finished, so maybe after we finish the Archon quest, we go back to the drawing, hopefully finished it, and then do the summer event. I think that's good. I think that's a pretty decent, idea for now. Things might change, but that's more or less what I have currently. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else there is to say. Look at my babies. Look at them. This Renova drawing is 1,000 times better than the first one. I really don't like this one. I thought I had something, but I really didn't end up liking how it looks. But this one here looks so much better. Probably because, like, the first one is the first time I even drew her with her design, and it was kind of a mess. Meanwhile, this one, I'm like, okay, I think I have, like, a better sense of it. So that's pretty neat, and I will always get the chance to draw my sexy Mayan man. But, yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I got, for, this stream in particular. Yeah. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys liked hearing me ramble about, I forgot, boba tea, my two birds animation, getting nostalgic over my old stuff. I need to make a stream one day where it's just me watching old stuff. But, yeah, that'll be one day. And, yeah, no, I guess that's basically it right now. Yeah. Till next stream, I guess. Well, I'm just gonna awkwardly get to the infinite void, and yeah. Bye!